up your happy quotient. We gotta up your happy now. Yeah. Steve-O, let's up your happy, baby.
Up your happy.
Up your happy. No, you're
Hey, up your happy. Those of you that are watching, those of you that are listening,
That's
up
right.
your happy. Why not? Let's up our happy, man. Why
Yeah.
not? That's why we do happy half hour in the first place. Happy half hour live, I should say.
Live,
There's
yes.
a lot of other happy half hours out there, but we are live. We are unscripted, as Joe likes to point out a lot. And I don't know why you say that, Joe, because to me, I'm always unscripted. But I think when you say that, people don't realize that. I mean, this isn't stuff that we've studied. Sometimes we might look up a quote or something, or it might be something that I shared from my podcast. But this is all just straight from, as Harry Mack likes to say, off the top of the dome. It's straight, but it's from the heart as well as from the head. So,
Right.
and that's why we started Happy Life Studios. I know Joe's going to ask, so I'm just going to tell you. My name is Steve. They call me Steve-O. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm a happypreneur. I'm here to find creative ways to help you find your happy, turn it on, and then walk alongside you. I'm a messenger. I'm here to help. I do that by bringing healing, encouragement, making you laugh, and making you ponder. And I am here with the unbelievable, the incredible, the one and the only Joe Mojo McCarthy. Crowd goes crazy. Normally conservative crowd here at Augusta, now to their feet. Joe, tell everyone listening who you are. What are you about?
Yeah, I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I go by Mojo on all platforms. And not just M-O-J-O, like a cup of coffee, or Mojo Rising, but M-O-J-O-E, which means more of me. Mojo, and also to help to get your mojo rising. And I believe that motivation is so important for us to do anything. In fact, I heard Brendan Burchard talk, Steve-O, about how the truth is people think that motivation isn't an emotion. Motivation is not an emotion. Motivation is a purpose. He said, actually, you have to have motivation to raise your hand. You have to have motivation to sneeze. There's a few things that our body does without conscious motivation, breathing, heart beating, etc. But most of the stuff we do, we have to tell our brain, I need to do this. And there must be a motive for it, whether it's we're avoiding pain or we're pursuing pleasure or whatever that might be. That's usually the two most motivating things for most people. And you know what? I love what we're doing here, Steve, because happy is pleasurable, but happy doesn't have to mean avoiding pain, right? We've talked about this at length in the last few episodes. Happy can mean finding joy in suffering, which that's a whole nother stuff. And we've talked about it at length, but that's, to me, that just keeps coming back to me because life does have challenges. Life does have issues. Life is painful at times, but that doesn't mean it can't be what?
Happy. Perfect. It's not perfect, but that doesn't mean it can't be happy. That's
right.
You got me. Normally I'm throwing that stuff at you, but that's how we end our podcast every week. Remember, life isn't perfect, but that doesn't mean it can't be happy. And Joe, this works. This happy half hour, it works. It's like that old commercial about the balding men or whatever. And the guy says, I'm not just the owner, I'm a client or whatever, you know.
Men's or whatever, yeah.
I mean, because honestly, I've been going through it for a while, right? And the last week or so have just been difficult for me, more difficult than normal. I normally like to get up, right, and be happy. And because there's a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of people relying on me online, stuff like that. That doesn't mean I can't be who I am, but it means my happy self is my what, Joe?
It's your best self.
It's my best self. So I always put this pressure on me to be happy. And then just recently, I just felt like, honestly, I felt like God was trying to reveal something inside of me. I don't know if you guys believe in God or not, but I felt like God was revealing, call it whatever you want, nature, karma, whatever. But I felt something inside me to say, I was with my buddy and we're at Buffalo Wild Wings, right? How can you be sad there? But I felt like I felt like that voice, which I think was God, but I felt like that voice was just saying, Steve, it's okay to be sad. And the last week or so, Joe, and even today, you know, oftentimes when I'm down, I fall into that whole trap of I'm not being happy because I'm down. That's not true. We talked about the joy of suffering. I would highly recommend going over our last few episodes because we talk about joy of suffering a lot on them. And I'm saying it works because it's been working for me. Today, I remembered some of the things that we said. And I said, you know, it's okay for me to be sad. I'm still content with who I am. I'm happy with where I am. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I love my life. I love my wife. I love my family, my boys. I love what I do. I love my skill set. I love where I live. There's so many things about my life I love. That doesn't mean that what I'm going through right now isn't difficult. It is difficult. It's okay for me to be down, for me to be sad, and yet still be content, yet still be happy. Do you think that made sense, Joe? Did it make sense to you?
Well, yeah. So this is really important too, and I don't want people to miss what you're talking about because one, you're pinning it to your experience. And Steve-O has been doing Happy Life Studios for 10 years. He's been talking about what is happiness and how do we maintain it not in spite of the circumstances, but perhaps even because of them, which is something we dig deep here on Happy Half Hour. And it's very interesting to me because happiness is like love, like almost every word. It's people don't have the same definition. A lot of people think happy means,
Right.
yay, I'm just ecstatic all the time, right? Which
Well said.
we all know that's
Great
not
point.
human. We can't be like this all the
Yeah.
time because
Unless you're a barista. And even baristas, when they go home, they probably just crash. I coined a new term. It's probably been coined by others before, but never by me. I never heard it before. But barista happy. That's this. Oh, I'm happy. Everything is great. But the other thing I hate with that is also is when I saw someone there and they say, "Oh, I'm fine." That's another way of just saying I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it. Like when people look at this, I'm happy. I'm great. They're really trying to hide how they're really feeling. They don't want to be honest how they're
maybe,
really. It's the same
maybe.
thing as saying fine too. But yeah, I go back to that thought. We can't live woo all the
Yeah.
time. That gets obnoxious, right?
Well, not only does it get obnoxious, but I found from my own experience, it's not a full life. So
Mm,
because of the
talk about
trauma,
that.
because of the trauma of my own childhood, and some of the teaching that I got, which I was taught improperly or I warped what I was being taught, and maybe both. Who knows? But I had this conception, Steve-O, that the only parts of life that were good, and this is the good and bad thing, right? Was happy, joy, love, all the good stuff, all the really good feelings. And so, contrary to some popular opinion, I had no problem going there. I was a very happy kid. I love people and I was involved in lots of stuff. And I was really concentrating on all the feel good stuff that life has to offer. But man, when things would tank, when things would go south, I had this like baseline. Like if you think of a sine wave or a wave from a
An
music
audio wave or a
audio,
waveform or something. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if you have a baseline, then the waveform goes above, like a roller coaster, and then it goes below the line and it comes back and it oscillates back and forth. And man, I would get to that line and I was hard stop. I'm not going to be pissed. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be vengeful. I'm not going to be hateful. I'm not going to have negative. I'm not going to be sad. Right. So,
Mm,
woo, and I'm stopped. Then, woo. Well, that seemed like a really great thing because it felt good most of the time, or at least didn't feel bad. But what I found out was I was actually only half human, Steve-O, because the human condition, the human
wow.
experience is the full range of human emotions, the full range of human experience. And if I cut off anything that I deemed, right, it was my label as bad, as negative,
Right.
as I can't go there, or as unspiritual. I even had a kind of a spiritual overtone to this, that, I wasn't being a good Christian boy if I got angry, if I got pissed, if I got sad. And man, I had to get challenged on that. I had to get challenged that humans are built with a full range of human emotions. And we don't even have words for all these, right? A lot of times, how are you feeling? Good, fine, happy,
Right.
sad. We maybe a few words. Brene Brown talks about this a lot, where people's language about emotions is very narrow. And so she says, and I love this, and I think this is something we can talk about, Steve. Brene Brown, if you haven't heard of her, she's an amazing researcher that talks about vulnerability and talks about authenticity. But she says, oftentimes we ask people how they're doing because we really do want to know. And as Steve alluded to, they'd say fine, but they don't really want to talk about it. But she said, most people don't have words for their emotions or they have to dig deep to find them. But they won't do that if you don't really give them a space. If you don't
Mm,
give them permission, if they don't sense that you really want to know. And how do they know? Because you ask follow-up questions, right? You ask follow-up questions. So what do you mean by that? Or what are you going through? Or tell me about it, or whatever that is. And I got to tell you, Steve, and I know you've experienced this as well. On the times when I remember to follow up the "I'm fine" with, "Yeah, but how are you really doing? What's really going on? Is there anything you want to talk about?" Because And sometimes I can sense you feel a little stressed, you feel a little down. And if I give them that crack, that opening, most people were like, really? You really want to know? Because I don't have a lot of people in my life that really care that much about what I'm going through. Boom, the floodgates open, and they tell me about stuff. And here's the weird thing: when they tell me what they're going through, and that would be a negative, what I would call negative emotion, I'm not judging them, saying, "Oh, you're not a very good person. You're not a very good human," right? Which is what I was doing to me. And so all that goes full circle to back what I'm talking about is that happy, sad are ends of a spectrum of a zillions of emotions, right? And so we're
Yeah.
not just one thing or the other. We're all of those things, just at different times.
I love that. I mean, I've never thought about that before. When I don't allow myself to feel those down, and that the best part about the roller coaster is the going the down part, you know,
Woo!
and then you end up coming back up again. And you know, what you said there about you weren't living the full human experience. You said, I'm not being fully human at that.
Yeah,
You know, Laura Strader came on one of our talks here. I think that's her name, right? She's your
yeah, Laura
friend.
Sue, that's right.
She's been on your talks before, but she
Yes,
said something about how sadness is, it's an emotion. It's a good emotion. All emotions are there for a reason. They're there to try to tell us something. They're
yes,
trying to tell us something is going on.
yep.
But she said something along the lines of, I'm probably going to botch this here, but that depression is sadness gone too far,
Sure, it
which
gets
often happens if we don't admit that we're always woo, then we're trying to hide up that, I heard a person say this once, it's like beach balls. When you're struggling,
yeah,
we oftentimes, it's like a beach ball. Beach ball's light, there's nothing to it. But when you're trying to keep it underwater,
yeah,
there's a lot of pressure to that,
right,
So oftentimes we're trying to hold this beach ball underwater and no one knows. How you doing? I'm fine. Or woo, I'm doing great. They
right,
don't see us, we're trying to stay cool above the water, but we're in turmoil trying to keep that beach ball down. The
yeah,
problem is the beach ball didn't go away.
right,
And before long, we've got a bunch of beach balls down there. And the problem is when one of those beach balls pops to the surface, they all pop to the surface. And now we've got a problem that we need to deal with, and it's very difficult. So your whole concept, what you said there about, and if I'm missaying you, please cut me off here. But you said I'm not being fully human. I'm not being. We talk about being fully alive. Well, that
yes,
includes the part below the baseline as well. And the thing that I thought about, I always tend to get on us for saying fine all the time, but it isn't. I see now why some people say fine, because that's what the people that ask them, if they don't give them space, that's what they're expecting.
right,
My problem is when people ask me how I'm doing, I'll tell them. Well, I scare some people away because some people really, they're just saying hi.
yeah,
And I want them to say, if you're saying hi, then say hello, say hi, say yo, say whatever. But so now I've learned, they ask me how I'm doing. I'll say, well, do you really want to know? Or are you just saying hi?
perfect,
So
perfect,
one reason why people are saying fine is because we don't give them the space. And I agree with you, Joe. I think that it's important to give people space to, like when I ask somebody how they're doing, I really want to know. It's rare when I just say, how are you? I'm saying as a hello.
yeah,
So what I'll do oftentimes, if they give me the fine word, I give them the space and I'll say, no, I really want to know how you're doing.
yeah,
Even if you have to give me a scale of 1 to 10 and you can't explain your emotion, where are you at scale of 1 to 10? But I love that whole idea of giving people space and a second to think about how they're doing. Because I think it's vital for us to, if you want to get somewhere, you have to know where you're from. GPS always asks, the first question is where you're coming from. And when we're honest and we say, well, I'm a 10 right now, or I'm a 3 right now, or I'm feeling depressed right now, or I'm feeling angry right now, those things. I like that whole idea of giving people space. To me, that's love, man. That's
yes.
love when you say, hey, I want you to say you're fine. I want you to say you're great, but I really want to know how you're doing. And I'm just going to be quiet and listen to you while you tell me.
Yes, I love that. So you just said it is exactly what I was going to say. Listening, active listening, is loving. Listening is a loving act, right? And I think that doesn't gets lost, or we just don't have it in our conscious brain a lot. That we think, okay, I sometimes I think the most loving thing to do is to jump in and fix it,
Yeah.
right? I'm a fix it guy.
Yeah.
I'm a guy, and guys are fix
Yeah.
its, right?
That's what we do.
Yeah. And my wife says, I didn't ask you to fix nothing. I'm like, yeah, but you're going through this thing, right? Let's get
I
this.
know I can help you. I
Yeah,
know
I
the
can help. I
answer.
can
I
help.
got this. Just shut up for a second. I'm going to tell you something that's going to change your life.
Right, right. And what my wife is very good about telling me, Joe, I
So is
don't
mine.
I don't need a solution. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but why did you ask me then? She says, because I want someone to feel what I feel. or what she says even better. She says, "I want to feel felt.
Mm,
Feel like you know what I'm going through. I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you to change anything. I
wow.
just want to know that you feel what I'm feeling. I want to feel felt." And I'm like, this is going to take me a while, right? Because I believe you and I want to do that. I really do, but I'm not practiced at that, right?
Dude,
That's
we're Bob the Builder. Can
right.
we fix it?
Mr.
Yes,
Fix
we can, right? Even if we can't, we think that we
Fix
can.
it, Felix,
Boy,
fix it.
that's how long did that take you to figure that out? I mean, with my wife, it took me a while to figure that out.
Oh
And I
yeah.
don't know if I even still have it figured out. If she were to come in here right now, she might tell me I don't quite have it figured out. But I'm really working hard to give her space and to let her feel. And I think a good thing to do in that situation is to ask somebody, what do you want from me? That's part of giving them space too. So what do you want from me? Do you want me to just listen? Or would you like some advice? Or I'll just listen until you tell me what you want. I'm not going to try to fix it or give you advice unless you want me to. I think it's good. That's part of giving people space too.
Yeah. So and I love the undertone of what you've been saying all along, Steve, was questions, right? If we ask someone, "How are you doing?" and they say fine, you follow up with a question. Are you really fine? Because I really want to know, right? And then they may say, "Yes, I am fine," because they don't want to talk about it, or maybe they are fine, but you have to take them at their word at some point, right? And then my wife saying, "I don't need a solution." I'm like, and you said it perfectly. You said another question. Well, what do you want? How can I support you in whatever you're going through? And oftentimes my wife will say, "Just be here, just be present." Right? Not be present in your body and off somewhere else in your head or on your phone for
Yeah,
sure, because phones are such a barrier to
yeah,
relationships. So
yeah,
just be present. She says, "I know you can't feel exactly what I'm feeling, but the fact that you want to know what I'm feeling and that you sit here with me while I'm in it." And you know what? I heard that same thing in a different words come from Simon Sinek in his podcast. He was saying, oftentimes in our walk of life, we'll come across a friend who's like they're stuck in the quicksand, and especially as guys, we're like, "Throw him a rope, pull him out." And sometimes your friends are like, I just want to be here. I know this isn't the best place for me, but I just want to be stuck for a minute. I'm not ready to get out of my stuff. And Simon Sinek, he painted this picture for me that just changed my thoughts. He says, "Well, instead of throwing him a rope or just standing there with my hands on my hips, like, are you ready yet? What if I'm willing to jump in to the quicksand with him, saying, hey, dude, I'm not going through what you're going through, but I don't want you to go through it alone." And we
yeah,
jump into the mess with them, and we're like, maybe someone else is going to have to rescue us, but at least we're not going to die alone, right?
yeah.
Nice.
I think we talked about this in one of our episodes about, when you've been in the dark a while, if someone just flips the light on, hey, it's morning time to wake up, it'll get you, it blinds you. And I
Bright
think we
light,
talked about
bright light.
exactly. My son used to do that. He used to go, shiny, shiny. He'd freak out, right? Well, that's what happens when you've been in the dark a while. Your eyes get used to that. Your body gets used to that. Your spirit gets used to that. Your soul gets used to that. And when someone just comes popping in and flipping on the light, and say, hey, woohoo, like you said earlier, right? We should call this episode woohoo, because
Woo-hoo.
when people do that, it can be very obnoxious when you've been in the dark. And we talked about this in one of the episodes. I can't remember what we said exactly, but we said something along the lines of compassion is, instead of turning the light on, go sit with them in the dark.
Yeah. Well,
And
compassion, the definition of compassion is to suffer
right
with.
with, yeah,
Suffer with, right? So you're
yeah,
right on, Steve.
yeah,
Compassion, just the word. If you take it the word and you break it down, passion is to suffer, which oftentimes people forget that passion is suffer. Passion of the Christ. That's why it's called what it
right,
is, right? And compassion means I'm going to share in your suffering. And here's the cool thing: I can't take your suffering away. I can't. I can't make it disappear. But by sharing your suffering, I actually can diminish it a little bit.
yeah,
There's something about that connection, that camaraderie, the well, scripture would be bear each other's burdens, because we make it a little bit lighter. Think of at a funeral when they're carrying the casket. One person cannot carry a casket; it will crush them. You get 6 or 8 people; they're all carrying a pole. They're all carrying some of the weight,
yeah,
and that doesn't take away the pain of the death or the loss or the grief. But no one person should have to carry the casket alone,
yeah,
right?
yeah. In fact, we've talked about this before, where, um, well, I gotta bring up another show. Since you're quoting all these Simon Sinek and Brandon Bouchard and all those, I'm gonna quote Red Green Show. The Red Green Show. It's
Right.
just a guy show. It's a Tim the Tailor Tool
The
Man
Red
kind of
Green Show.
show. It's about flannel and duct tape, man, and fixing stuff. And I think sometimes we like to fix things because, well, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm sorry. I can only speak for me. But when I fix someone, I'm like, woo, Super Steve. They hear a nail in this corner, ladies and gentlemen. I fix the situation, I help them, and it feels good to do that. And sometimes I do that because I want to feel good. I want to be the fixer and say, I helped with that whole thing.
Right.
But you said loving is listening is loving. And in the Red Green Show, it's just about a bunch of these guys, and they always get together at their little town meeting, and they always say, I'm a man, but I can change if I have to, or something along those lines, right? One guy gets up there and he says, you know what, I always get in trouble because I never listen when my wife is talking. He said, but my wife started talking and she just talks and talks and talks. But this time I started thinking about, this project that I had and how I'm going to fix it. And so I didn't say anything. I just kept figuring out. And she talked so long, I figured out how to fix it. When we got done, she was patting me on the back, giving me a hug, telling me what a great job I did. He said, I can hardly wait for our next conversation because I got a project in the garage I'm looking to fix.
Not I love it. That's hilarious. So we got a few minutes left on this half hour, and I want to circle back to the wave and the roller coaster idea.
Yeah, I do too, actually. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah, because I was talking about, I felt like it was a half. I didn't know this for a while. It took me a while in my life to realize that I was half human because I was stopping at that ground zero because I didn't want to go below ground. But here's the deal, Steve-O. I started thinking about this, and this is just within the last year. I started thinking about the physics of roller coasters. Like you climb that steep hill and you're zooming down, which can be fun and also can be scary.
Yeah.
But it's actually required to get the momentum to get up the next hill.
Wow. Say that again.
Yes. Can you believe that? That in this, like, again, it's a metaphor for emotions that we go through. But when you climb the hill and you're at the top of the mountain, things are awesome. And then you're in free fall. That can be fun and scary. But the thing is, if you don't ride that wave all the way to the bottom of it, you don't have enough momentum to climb the next hill. Like that picture in my mind was wee thud.
It's a crash test dummy,
Wee
right?
thud. Exactly. I was a crash
That's
test.
whiplash. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And then to go back to Laura's comment, I thought that was perfect because the thing is, depression is when you get stuck at the bottom of the hill and you can't get out. And then sometimes you need somebody to come latch onto you and tow you back up, or latch onto that chain and tick, 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 to get you back up. But sadness isn't a bad thing until you get stuck there. And sometimes you need some help, right? So you have joy and you have sadness and you have gladness and you have bitterness and you have anger and you have all this stuff. And it's all part of being human. But it just reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. I hear this all the time in my head. Winston Churchill saying, when you're going through hell, keep going. And that's the idea that when I get to the top of the hill, and so I'm going to combine this with another of my favorite quotes, but I don't remember where it comes from. When you're at the top, give thanks, because this too shall pass. It's not going to last. And when you're at the bottom, give thanks, because this too shall pass, right? It's no place to camp out. It's no place to make your home. Go through it. And I think that's that up and down, the natural oscillation of life in our emotions.
Yeah, I had a good friend of mine who lost his child, right? So he was down for a long time, right? But at one point, he felt like God, and you can call it energy, you can call it whatever you want, but something inside of him said, okay, we're done. We're done now. And you know what that is? That was the bottom of that peak. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that the times when I've been really depressed or sad or angry, just angry, and when you go there, you got to be careful that you don't. The Bible even says, be angry, but don't sin in your anger, right? So when I'm angry, I'm going to experience, I'm going to lean into that. I got to be by myself. I don't want to hurt anybody else, right? But when I'm really angry, when I allow that to be, and there comes a point where, like, I'm tired of this negative emotion. I'm tired of this thing. And it does propel you right back up. And the living part, it isn't, when you get to the top, you get to the top for a reason. It's time to live now. And boy, you start going down that track. That's what makes it fun. That's the rush. That's the thrill. But after you live, after you give, it'll wear you out and you end up down. Well, that's okay, because down when you're down here, life slows down again, and you hear the click, 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 click as the life goes back up near the top, and it takes some time to get up there but you can't. If you go up as fast as you go down, accidents are going to happen, and it's gonna destroy you. So there's a reason why it's just like a ski resort, right? It's skiing down the hill. You're on that ski lift, and it's just going slow up the mountain. But what's cool about that is my favorite part of skiing is the ski lift part, right? I enjoy going down the hill. Okay, I'm to the age now though. I go down the hill. I think, man, if I were to fall, what would break? But when I get down the hill, my favorite part is being on that lift. It's like the going up the roller coaster, because then you look at all the scenery, all the beauty around you, right? And sometimes when you're going back up and you're recovering from that thrill, that life, that excitement, that high energy, woo, right? That is legit, right? Because oftentimes we start that way, we just can't stay that way. You can't just keep going down, 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 down the road. At some point, you got to hit the bottom. You got to start coming back up. The point I'm trying to say is that when you come back up, it's slow, which is good, because then you start looking around you at the scenery of your life. You start looking at what you just did, what you just accomplished, I think you talk about giving space to others in the beginning, coming full circle now. It's time to give ourselves some space too, to look and say, wait a minute. I think why we should have a weekend is so at the end of the week, we go, what did I accomplish this week? What did I try to accomplish this week? Give ourselves some space while our track is going click, 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 while we're going back up this roller coaster of life. Look around. Don't just wait to get to the top so you can go back down again. Like author Louis L'Amour said something along the lines of, it's not the destination that's the thing. It's the trail itself. That's the thing that's important. So don't be afraid to, if you're going down that hill and you're enjoying life, then enjoy it, man. Woohoo! Have fun. If you're near the bottom and you're just feeling down, you're feeling depressed, use that. Don't worry. You got to get there so you can get the momentum to go back up. And if you are going back up right now and life has slowed down a little bit or whatever, take the time to give yourself some space and to just enjoy the moment that you're in. And I think no matter what moment we're at, I think we can look at it, give ourselves some space, and we can enjoy it and go, wait a minute, there's something else that we can look at here in this situation and see a bigger picture.
Yeah. So to close, I'm remembering now as we talk about taking my kids and their friends to Magic Mountain, which is one of the great roller coaster parks in our area.
Yeah.
And we waited in this long line to get in this double helix, double spin track thing that I know was going to make me barf and it was going to be upside down and backwards. And I was tempted after waiting in this long line. I was tempted when I got to the car to just step right through the car to the exit platform.
That's
say,
what I do.
I'm good, right? Thank you. I'll meet you kids in just a few minutes. And
Psych.
yeah, but that became like, it was like the light bulb turned on. And this is where I started to realize that in my own emotional life, my own emotional journey, I was exiting the car before I enjoyed the ride. Right? That, yes, it's going to be scary. I might want to barf sometimes. I might wish that I never got on the ride. But the truth is, at the very end, when my hair is all blown back and I survived, I'm going to be like
Kramer.
Yeah! Check it. I see that picture of me, right? Where they take it with as scared as you can be. But there's something quite celebratory about there. Like,
yeah.
Look at that. And that feeling, it scared me out of my mind, but I survived. And I think, I don't want to, Steve, I don't want to be the person that steps into the car of life and then steps right out because I'm afraid of the hills and the valleys. It's all part of it. And I also want to ride it together. I want to ride it with my friends because connections are so important. So if we get stuck, right, one of our friends can be the person that will help us to either get off the mountaintop or to get out of the valley.
And usually that's what we do need. We need somebody to help us with that. And no matter where.
How are you? No, how are you? Really?
Yeah, exactly. Give them space. When you're on the top of the roller coaster, it's great to have a buddy next to you. It's great to have somebody going on that roller coaster with you instead of going by yourself. When you're at the bottom, man, you need someone to help lift you up. And so that's kind of like a good segue into a song. You got a song that might go along with that, Joe?
You betcha. We just had a happy half hour. Yeah. Happy half hour. So it's not a whole happy 24 hours. It's a happy half hour. Yeah. Hey, join us in just a few minutes. we're going to end this episode, night 18. We're going to close it down, and we're going to start episode 19 in just a couple minutes here on chatmosa.com, chatmosa.com, also on TikTok, which is already rolling. And if we have anybody who wants to join us live, and either on the chat and or on voice or even camera, we can do all of that here in Chatmosa, because it's like Zoom, only better, much better on steroids. So peace out, Steve-O, and
peace in.
woo, yeah, baby.